Lesson 6 in Biology Unit 1, How to Plan a Biology Experiment. Vocabulary control group, a group in which everything is the same as the test group in an experiment except that the independent variable stays the same. Control variable, variables that do not change during an experiment. Dependent variable, the variable that is changed by the independent variable in an experiment. Extraneous variable, variables that are not or cannot be controlled that could interfere with an experiment. Independent variable, a variable that is purposely changed in an experiment. Variable, the factor that may or may not change in the experiment. So in this lesson, you are going to learn how to plan a biology experiment. It says Isabel saw something in nature that got her curious. She observed that her dog was shedding his hair. She noticed that sometimes she lost some of her own hair when she brushed it. She wondered which grows faster, dog hair, fur, or human hair. Isabel decided to perform an experiment. She read her textbook and looked up information on the internet, and when she wrote a problem question, what is the effect of species on hair growth? She wrote a hypothesis that was an educated guess of a possible explanation of her observations and began her research. You can learn about science in books, but in order to be a scientist, you must do science. Science is all about experimentation. A teen track athlete, Jose, just bought 2 pairs of running shoes. He wanted to find out which pair would help him run faster. He put on the first pair and ran once around the track in 2 minutes. And then he put on the second pair and ran around the track again. His time was 2 minutes, 13 seconds. He decided that the first pair was better and headed to the store to return the second pair. What is the problem question in this experiment trying to answer? It could be, what is the effect of the type of running shoe or running speed? We do not have enough information to determine what the teen had an educated guess about, which one he thought was better. Therefore, we cannot state a hypothesis. Was his experiment adequate to answer his question? Were both pairs of shoes treated equally in the experiment, or did one pair have an advantage over the other pair? Perhaps the athlete was tired after running one lap, and that's what interfered with his time with the second pair of shoes. Perhaps the running shoes had no effect on his speed. He made an assumption that it would have an effect, but we don't know if this was actually the case. Let's look at our all-star athletes experiment and see what happened with more technical scientific terms. When doing an experiment, we use the word variable to describe a factor that is changed on purpose, a factor that changes in response to another one changing, factors that stay the same, and factors that may affect the outcome of the experiment. Independent variable. This is a variable that is purposely changed in an experiment. In this case, the independent variable was the running shoe. The dependent variable is the variable that changes depending on the changes of the independent variable. In the runner's case, this is the time that it took to run one lap. So independent is purposely changed, dependent changes because of the independent variable. And control variables, the variables that are kept the same during the experiment. In the above case, this was the distance that he ran, which was one lap, and the athlete. He did not have someone else test the second pair of shoes. So the control group, there's 2 in this case. It's the distance of the lap that he ran and the athlete, Jose himself. Extraneous variables, undesired variables that are not or cannot be controlled, that could interfere with an experiment and therefore may affect its outcome. It says some examples of an extraneous variable for the runner. It could have started raining until during the second lap. The wind could have picked up, or the runner could have experienced fatigue. As much as possible, these extraneous variables need to somehow be controlled during an experiment. Control group, a group in which everything is the same as a test group except the independent variable stays the same. There was not a control group in the runner's experiment. An example of a control group might be that Jose ran a lap with his old shoes.